That right there was in deep red Alabama. That was a MAGA Republican Congress member by the name of Barry Moore, who's also running for Senate in Alabama. And the people were letting him know what they think about him for ripping away their health care, destroying their jobs, destroying their state, and destroying this country. Look, just take a look at Donald Trump's latest Quinnipiac poll. It's like the lowest of his entire term and like the lowest in history. Trump's approval right now stands at 37%. 55% of Americans disapprove. 67% of Americans disapprove of his handling of the Epstein files. 56% disapprove of troops in D.C. 60% of people oppose sending military aid to Israel. And 76% do not trust Putin to honor a peace deal. People are pissed, but just look at what's happening on a day-to-day basis in our country. Take the past 48 hours for an example. Postal operators around the world are either suspending or reducing services to the United States amid tariff uncertainty. So you could still maybe get like a letter, but you won't get packages of things that are valued at $100 or more, whether it's from France or Germany or Italy or Austria or Australia or the UK or Japan or Thailand or Singapore or India. You ain't getting packages anymore if you live in the United States. Also, you're pretty susceptible to serious illness now in the United States, which, in addition to the disappearing human beings by ICE sending people to concentration camps, is another reason why people don't want to visit the United States anymore. It's why tourism is crashing, and in places like Vegas, they are getting hit incredibly hard. I mean, just look at what happened yesterday. RFK Jr., who looks like maybe the most unhealthy dude imaginable. I saw someone compare him to a 100-year-old baseball glove, like that's what his face looks like. RFK Jr. announced new limits on who can get COVID vaccines, even as new variants are surging. So if you want to get a COVID vaccine, you can't just show up anymore. You have to go to your doctor before getting vaccinated. Then your doctor is being heavily persuaded by the government not to give you vaccines. So you can't book it directly with a pharmacy anymore. Emergency use authorizations of COVID are hereby ended. Why are you taking this away? Why are you getting rid of vaccines? We're adults. We should have the freedom. If we want to get it, we can get it. If we don't want to get it, we don't have to get it. No one's forcing us, but you're forcing us not to get it right now. So the CDC director, Susan Monterez, was absolutely pissed about this. She stood up to RFK Jr. They fired her. They said, "You're gone." She says, "You can't fire me like that. I'm not fired. I'm staying." She reached out to numerous senators, which pissed off RFK Jr. and Trump even more. They're like, "No, you're fired. Get out." She's like, "You can't fire me like that. I am staying." So that's where we're at right now. They said they said she's fired. She's saying I'm not fired. Multiple leadership at CDC are quitting right now. They're saying they're out, they're leaving. So the CDC's in mass revolt right now with some of their key leadership, and that's what's going on right now. At the same time, take a look at another agency, FEMA. Like, these are pretty important agencies, right? The Center for Disease Control, FEMA, the Emergency Management Agency, Federal Emergency Management Agency. 100 current and former FEMA employees sent an open letter about how bad things are at FEMA, how the leadership there has no clue what it's doing, how if a hurricane were to strike, it would be far more catastrophic than Katrina because there's literally zero leadership. But let's pause for a second too. Can we not forget what happened at the Guadalupe River in Texas recently and how hundreds of children just died because FEMA didn't do its job? FEMA was ready to do its job. It was prepared to go. They didn't have leadership. They begged for their urban search and rescue teams to go out. You had the Department of Homeland Security cosplay dog killer, Kristi Noem, was not approving the urban search and rescue teams on time. You had the Texas Republican county and district areas. They refused to take the money that Biden wanted to give them for emergency response and for alert systems. Instead, they gave it to themselves in bonuses. They took the federal money. It was a systemic breakdown. It was 4 minutes to get up to the mountain if the people were freaking notified. And what, we don't even talk about that anymore? We talk about that here on the MeidasTouch network, but the Trump regime said, that was great. That was a perfect response. Hundreds of children died. I think people are still missing right now. But what Texas cared about, let's gerrymander the state and get rid of Democrats because we're Texas. That's what we care about, an emergency session, the fascism stuff. So Trump's put on administrative leave potentially hundreds of FEMA staffers who signed their name to an open letter. So FEMA's been gutted. The CDC's been gutted. It's like, what the hell is going on right now in our country? I mean, we see stories like this every single day. You go to foreign policy right now, Kyiv under attack, another night of a barrage of ballistic missiles being sent by Russia, striking residential properties. Ukraine is only hitting military targets in Russia, oil refineries, railroads, but Russia is hitting residential properties in Ukraine. They've only escalated matters. And I want you all to think about this too. Take a step back for a second and think about it. So Trump meets with Putin in Alaska. What was accomplished? Well, for Putin, a ton was accomplished, right? There's no ceasefire. Putin isn't agreeing to a trilateral or bilateral meeting with Ukraine and Trump. There's zero security guarantees. The United States is now open to doing business with Russia, diamond trade, potentially oil deals with Russia. Russia got a huge benefit. What the hell happened on the American side? But our corporate media said that Donald Trump said X, Y, and Z. You can't report that Donald Trump said anything because the guy literally lies about every single thing. And by the way, you have even MAGA Republican senators calling it out. Chuck Grassley is like 91 years old. He's talking about how his farmers are getting crushed by the price of fertilizer. Fertilizer input prices are at an all-time high right now because of the tariffs. Farmers are getting crushed. So you're going to have more government bailouts and subsidies of it, which is going to send our debt up. It's going to increase our deficit. I saw a study that there's a scenario where people are thinking about the national deficit, not the debt. The deficit can be somewhere in the $21 to $23 trillion range when Donald Trump is done with it. Alicia Diaz says, it's been a minute since we've seen a public official ask for lower tariffs from a GOP lawmaker. Notably, Grassley did not vote for the resolution to end tariffs on Canada, which would have removed the duties on most non-USMCA compliant fertilizer. So you're tariffing your own ability for your farmers to survive. As Sam Stein puts it nicely about what's going on in D.C. So let's get this straight what MAGA Republicans do. They removed $1 billion out of D.C.'s budget. They promised to restore it, but they never did. They gutted the National Park Service. They called in the National Guard from a number of states to combat crime, but the Guard is now doing custodial work and picking up the trash. That's what makes sense right now. And Americans know that that's not what the National Guard should be used for. We know that prices are going up. We know that the tariffs are hurting us. We know that things are far less affordable right now than they were before. We know that Donald Trump's made the world more dangerous. Donald Trump can beg for Nobel Peace Prizes all he wants. He can tell us that he's solved inflation and it's eliminated. He can say the word maha and that we're healthier than ever. We know that it's all lies. We're not dumb people. I understand that you may have your MAGA mush brain followers who just believe everything you say when you send them emails and you're like, look what I'm doing for you. But most Americans know what's going on. It's why, going back to that first clip I showed you, you've got people in deep red Alabama showing up to town halls, greeting their MAGA Republican Congress member with boos like that. And then again, internationally, how weak we look. I'm going to do a whole video on this morning, so stay tuned. But we have Japan canceling a meeting with the United States. Japan saying we're not showing up. to talk about the trade deal that you claim exists, because we don't agree with what you're saying about this deal. We're not giving you $500 billion for you to take 90% of the profits. The Japanese trade minister, Akazawa, he ain't coming to the United States. Prime Minister Modi's not returning their calls. The world is forming different alliances right now. You've got Prime Minister Carney. He visited Scandinavian countries, Finland, Sweden. He was there. He was in Ukraine. He's going to be going to Germany to meet with Frederick Mayer to talk about European defense pacts. You've got India going, Prime Minister Modi meeting with China holding a big Shanghai economic event with world leaders and strengthening the BRICS bloc. That's what's happening. And American General Kurilla, they called him Kurilla the Gorilla, because that's what the Trump regime called him, who was largely responsible for the mission in Iran, which Donald Trump overruled. And Trump said he knew how to do the strikes better, where the enriched uranium was not taken out. Iran still has its enriched uranium. We've removed sanctions from Iran. They're sending more Shahed drones to Russia than ever before. But now they're able to send more oil to China than ever before. So who benefited from those strikes to Iran? They were made stronger. They got richer. Russia's getting more drones right now. China's getting more of the oil right now. Netanyahu got a brief delay of his criminal trial, and Trump got to act like a tough guy. Oh, that's what this was all about. And Russia was the main beneficiary after Vladimir Putin told Donald Trump that he wanted to mediate the dispute before America struck the Iranian nuclear sites and missed the key portions of it. Oh, that's fairly interesting. But what our media doesn't talk about that. Our media doesn't talk about what's happened in the Guadalupe River. Our media isn't talking about the fact that Japan is canceling its meetings in the United States about Trump's fake trade deals, or that Prime Minister Modi's not returning Donald Trump's calls. But there was some coverage of it. I'll give the media a little bit of credit, but they didn't talk about it a ton. Like we talked about it at the MeidasTouch Network, that the Trump regime was caught engaging in espionage against our NATO ally Denmark by literally sending multiple spies who were caught in Greenland, trying to spy on Greenland in order to seize and take their sovereignty. I mean, you've got that going on right there. Again, horrific stuff. And I want to mention this as well. The horrific school shooting at the Catholic school in Minneapolis. Immediately, all the MAGAs came out and they were like, what we need more of is more military at the schools. See, this is why we need more National Guard everywhere, rather than saying we want what 85% of Americans want, which is common sense gun reform. And I also have an important point that's not getting nearly enough attention. This individual, this sick terroristic individual who was involved in this shooting, seems to have been posting a lot of things on social media that would normally be flagged by the FBI, would normally be flagged by law enforcement, specifically the federal government. Our FBI is so gutted right now by the Trump regime, who have fired people, pushed people out. The best and brightest talent in the FBI have been defunded, have been fired, have been forced to quit, it's horrible things there. They've been put on other priorities like redacting and removing Donald Trump's name from the Epstein files. They've been taken off of there to rounding up migrants who are hardworking people at like factories and Home Depot and sending them to concentration camps. So when are we going to have the discussion that as a result of what Trump's done to the FBI and law enforcement and turn them into basically a patrol for finding Latinos and putting them into concentration camps, whether they're migrants or citizens, that this has made us poorer, it's harmed our economy, made us less safe by far, and is crippling. When can we have that discussion of what's really happening? But no, we want to hear from RFK Jr. This is the guy telling us what constitutes healthy. Here, play this clip right here.
And I know what a healthy child is supposed to look like. I'm looking at kids as I walk through the airports today, as I walk down the street, and I see these kids that are just overburdened with mitochondrial challenges, with inflammation. You can tell from their faces, from their body movements.
No, you know what I'm interested in hearing right now? People like Graham Plattner, who's running for the Senate seat in Maine. Here's Graham Plattner on talking to Trump supporters. He's running against Susan Collins. And I like that Democrats now have fighters like this guy, Graham Plattner. Let's play it.
But I am going to drag along some of them. And I know that because I work next to them on the boat launch. And we bitch every day. We sit down drinking coffee at the bottom of the Sullivan boat launch, complaining about rich people stealing our money, complaining about a healthcare system that's falling apart, and complaining about the fact that none of our friends and family can afford a place to live. We talk about those things, and we all agree on it. It's funny. Over the past week, people are like, how are you going to talk to Trump supporters? I'm like, what, are you kidding me? I do it every day, man.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
New Midas merch. Head to store.MeidasTouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.